Alrighty. Okay. I'm not sure what I did a second ago. I just pressed some button and it put me with some random person. I was like, interesting.
Oh no. Yeah, when you have there's a way that you can make this a little bit bigger too. Hold
Okay.
on.
Let me see. Is there a way I
Yeah,
can make you a host?
honestly, Eli, just start touching buttons. You can't fuck shit up. Okay?
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
I mean, how did you get side by side with her?
I have no idea. Like I just started pressing buttons and that's what it got. Okay, wait a second. Hold on. I think I figured it out. Okay, so if I okay, I think I need to disconnect you first and because it won't let me do a host while I'm doing a guest. And so I'm gonna disconnect you and then
All right.
reconnect you.
Okay.
Okay, let me see. Um okay, why is it asking me if I want to invite Rod? I want to invite you. Okay. I want to. That's so weird. Your name's not popping up. Okay, you know what you might have to do? Okay, wait, maybe. Is it? No, it's still not popping up. Okay. What we might need to do is you might need to do the live and then I join from your co-host. Does that make sense? Because it's showing people that I can host with. It's just not showing you for some reason. I'm like, why? Why does it have to be so freaking complicated? Okay. Yeah, see, it's still, yeah, it's only showing me. Okay, so I think what we might have to do is you might have to make the live, and then I join and add it, and you make me a host. Because it's for some reason it's not showing you on my host option. It's only showing a random creator, like I guess on like Omegle or something, and then a couple of other people. Yeah, because see, it shows me it's popping you up as a guest,
But it won't pop me up as a
as a host or a co-host.
okay.
Okay, let me.
Can you Google that real quick?
That's exactly what I was doing just
I was
right
like,
now.
I don't my computer's out of reach, but I bet you can Google.
Okay. Okay, so go live together. Okay. So to use this feature, you go live together and select your co-host and then click invite. Yeah, see, I did that, but it didn't want me to.
Oh, do we both have to go ask it if we both have to go live on our separate pages? Because maybe that's how that woman ended up on live with you. Hi, everybody who's popping in. We're figuring out TikTok stuff.
Yes. So it says no, you don't have to go. You don't have to initiate an individual live. One person, the host, can invite another. the guest to join their live stream. The host starts the live stream and then sends the invite link to the guest through literally what I was just doing. Let me see. What is okay? Hey Nicole. What in the world? Okay. Let's see. No, I
Hey,
don't
Nicole,
want.
we're trying to figure out TikTok stuff, how to get our faces to be side by side instead of me in the little Hollywood squares box.
Wait, so if I do that, what does that do?
That puts me in big, and then you're up top at little.
Okay. So that did something, right?
It did something, but it didn't put us side by side.
Okay.
I wonder if
Um,
that other woman was live and somehow.
she was.
See, that's what I think we both have to go live. So why don't I try to go live? Hi, Nicole. Why don't I try to go live and then see?
Yeah.
And then you go live at the same time, and let me see if we can. I'm still zero health. Chicken to go live. That's okay. And then let me see if I can invite you onto my live. Like
Okay,
invite you.
yeah.
So
Let's
we
try
both go
that.
live.
And
Stay live,
then
and then I'm gonna bust out of here. Don't. I'm just gonna leave,
okay.
and then and I don't know how to do that. Okay, yeah.
All right. So yeah, technical difficulties, y'all. But exciting one, because this is the first time I've ever done a live with other people. So I went live with Lori Rivers. Guess it was early. It was early. It was early morning. I guess it was 2 days ago, and that was fun. I went live with Lori and Matilda, and we talked some fun stuff. But we were doing the guest mode because there was the three of us, and doesn't let you do co-host with three people. And then I still needed to go live that one day to meet to be able to co-host with other people, and so it just kind of happened. But yeah, so we're we're making life happen. So yeah. And I didn't know that I can like my own live. Like, y'all. That is so freaking weird. Like, what is this, YouTube? Like, oh, here we go. I think we did it. That was so weird.
That's what I figured. I was like, I think we both have to go live at the same time, and then one of us has to invite the other one. Hey, Melissa. Hi, everybody. How you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, I mean, the more you know, because I do want to do a lot more lives. And so I know,
Okay.
Nicole, we did it. I'm so happy we were able to. Did you know that you can like your own live?
I don't know what that means.
Like, you know how when someone taps the screen and it sends like those little bubbles, you can like your own live.
Uh huh. Oh yeah, I've
I
done
didn't know
that.
you could do that.
Taps or claps.
That is
Okay.
true. It's internet claps.
Claps or claps. Okay. That's the way it goes. Hi, everybody. I hope you are enjoying a day off if that's what you are getting today on this Memorial Day Monday. I
Yeah.
dare not say happy Memorial Day. Apparently, I will get physically assaulted if I do.
Yeah. Because I mean, when you think about it though, like there's some holidays where you can say, "Oh, happy blank, fill in the blank." And there's some where like, I don't know, was that sending the right message there?
Yeah, storms are headed my way, Melissa. I know, but it's kind of like, what do you say on Memorial Day? Like,
Memories. I don't know. Have a very Memorial Day.
oh
Oh.
shit, my phone. Sorry, y'all.
Oh.
Yeah, I think some big storms are like headed my way. Um, it's because this darn iPhone is heavy, and so it goes whoop on the tripod.
Yeah. I've had an iPhone at one point in my life, and I don't know. I just had the hardest time with it. Maybe it's just because I'm just tech challenged. Like I have like I'm just tech challenged all the way. Like that's why I hire someone to do all my tech because I can't. Like it's just it makes me angry. And so I like to know enough to be able to be functional, but then that's really it. Because anything past that, I'm just like, oh my god, this just makes me mad. But that was how I felt with my iPhone. I'd get mad at it because I couldn't figure out how to do anything with it. But then for somehow one or another, I got a Google Pixel, and it made my life so much easier because everything is like very crystal clear. This button does this, it does exactly what it says it's going to do, and it's very literal. So like it's extremely literal, so it won't do anything more than what it says it's going to do.
I know. I think I'm just so used to my iPhone. I'm not about to give it up.
Yeah, no, I got rid of all of my Apple products in 2022, and I completely switched just because I was so frustrated with Apple.
Oh, that's okay. Hi, everybody popping in. I see my San Antonio people. Yes, we are preparing for some storms coming in here. I do have my spare light and my ham radio in here just in case. Just in case. But
Is it severe storms?
yeah.
Yeah, we had a
So,
whole bunch of severe storms literally every day this week. So
yes, and this is Eli. Eli is a part of the Cosmic Surfers and Astro Crew that I belong to on Lori Rivers' Patreon. And even though he was born in the 2000s, he is a very, very smart astrologist.
astrologer. Uh oh. I think did I mute you somehow?
No, what happened was is I have my phone on Do Not Disturb when I go live.
Oh, okay.
But I knew what happened was I had a phone call come in, and those severe weather alert calls, I have a
Oh.
setting that they can automatically ring, even if it's on Do Not Disturb, and that's what happened.
Oh, okay. I was like, did I accidentally press something? Because I was
No,
kind of
no,
fiddling
it was
around.
me. But for everybody that is in here, this is Eli. He's a part of the Astro Crew. That yes, I am learning astrology. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't know shit. I know enough to be fucking dangerous. Um,
It's
but
a
I
great
know
place to
enough to
start.
feel like I'm cool. Um, and he is just gotten the ability to be able to go live. So we thought, why don't we just go live and why don't we do some cards and stars
Yeah.
and just sit here and have a talk about things. Um,
Oh,
you know,
bye, Nicole. Thank you for stopping in.
yeah, thanks Nicole for popping on in. You guys likes or claps and they help us out. They definitely do. You can share your own live, Eli, and I would do that with like pretty much everybody that you know.
Okay.
Um, because the algorithm likes that.
Okay.
You can even share your live with yourself.
I can share the live with myself. That is what I know. I knew I could like my own live. That was the funniest thing. I was like, I had no idea I could do that. And then I started tapping the screen. I was like, I can like my own live. What is this, YouTube?
And because we're both going live on each one of our pages, that's even juicier for the algorithm to send it out to more people. That's why it's beneficial to go live together.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Like, but here's the thing, like I was saying before, I am a little tech challenged. So like whenever I was sending the live, or when I was sending a couple videos to some people before, and it sent to like some random followers of mine, I'm like, I am so sorry. I can't believe I did not mean to send that to you. I'm like, I should send that to somebody else, you know. And so I was like, yeah, that sending things is something that no matter how hard I try, sometimes it
It's
just confuses
okay.
me.
It's with TikTok. We're just learning. Just press buttons, and that's just kind of how you're gonna learn on this. But everybody, we're just chilling out. We just wanted to have a live conversation. Talk about astrology stuff, talk about metaphysics, paranormal stuff, ghost, all that kind of jazz, and just have a little fun. And considering that in a couple hours it will be new moon in Gemini.
It will be.
It will be. And you know, on one side of it, guys, watch out for all the gossiping this month. Gossip, gossip, gossip.
Well, there's
Talking.
gossip. Here's my thing. Here's my thing that I've noticed with astrology. Gemini is often painted as the sign of the gossiper and the sign of the two-faced people.
It's information now.
It's information. You can get a lot of really good information, but think about it more this way. Any sign can gossip. Any sign can gossip, or even though we all have all 12 signs in our chart. Any sign is just the language of the gossiper. So Gemini is probably the talking gossiper, the one that likes to write the little messages on a sticky note.
Yeah.
Cancer, on the other hand, might be more of the maybe in its lower levels might be more of an emotionally manipulative gossiper. Leo might be more of the thing that the gossipers are talking about. So it's more so the language of what is going on versus Gemini being a gossiper. So
Hi, Miranda. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody that's popping in.
yeah, hello.
Yes, sending love out. We are talking about a few different things. New moon in Gemini, and just kind of getting ready for Gemini season. Talking about cards and stars, basically, and having a bunch of fun. Let us know, how's your weekend go out there. Did you guys go on any little trips? What's going on? Let us, let us know on here. I'm personally looking forward to Gemini season because I have some really cool events coming up. Well, not even in Gemini. It'll be in Cancer. Yeah, it'll be going right into early Cancer season where I'm taking a really probably a life-changing adventure trip, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. I'm really excited to see how that goes.
I'm excited too. So it'll be right going into Cancerian season. So good time to open up the warm and fuzzy heart space, and you know let
It's Cancer season is kind of when the world is checking its emotional foundations.
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I'm just happy about just being in the Gemini season because for me this time of year is about like, let's get it done, let's have fun together, let's talk about it, let's get things moving. So
Yeah.
hi
Yeah, so
everybody. Hi Shelby.
yeah. Hello. Hey Alicia. I saw you pop in. Hey Spencer. Yeah, I'm just pulling up the chart for the new moon in Gemini. And it happens at around 10:02 p.m.
That's right.
Central. So that's
Some
around what
change
it I'm sorry, go ahead.
and some change. I always
It's
like
some
to.
change. Yes. Um so, depending on what time zone you're at, it happens at 10:02 p.m. roughly. It is conjunct Mercury. So that is, and Mercury is in its own home sign. So
Oh,
this
Gemini.
this gives and here's what's really big bada boom. It's trining with Pluto to
Woo!
a separating aspect. So this new moon is really going to be interesting because right now we have Pluto sextiling with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And then this new moon is sextiling Saturn and Neptune in Aries, trining with Pluto. So we have so much supporting energy right now. And I don't mean supporting as in like, oh, I support you. This is what, like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more like supporting as in like they're all egging each other on. So imagine, and there is very little square and opposition energy to keep that in check. So what we're going to see is people who don't know how to shut their mouth. People who don't know how to shut their mouth, talking to you, Big Orange. And I'm also looking at a lot of issues, perhaps dealing with oil and gas. So there is a lot that is going to be happening here because there's nothing to keep this new moon in check. So make sure you're very careful around flammable objects this new moon. Obviously, it depends on what happened or what's going on in your chart too. But just on a very general worldwide level, I'd just be very mindful of that. We could also see gas prices fluctuate in the States with this. We might also see in certain areas. I'm looking at Louisiana here. We might see some interesting news come out of there. So, and I'm not talking about the Annabelle doll, I'm talking about something more to do with gas and oil. So, it's just things of that nature that we might be able to see a little bit more of around this time period. So, yeah.
I believe, and you know what? Why don't we ask the cards a quick question about both of those trine energies that you were talking about? How, if people, a lot of people don't understand the astrology language, and that's okay. So let's ask the cards. How can people take advantage of this energy in their everyday life? Right?
That's a great question to ask. Get a little practical in here because
Yeah.
that is true.
What?
Because knowledge is only as just as good as how much you can apply to it. So yeah,
Yeah. Um, And you guys, new moon lasts 3.5 days. So you got 3.5 days, okay?
yes.
Um,
And I always like to think of new moons as the time where you're planting the seeds for the life that you want to live. So be looking at what area of life that is a focus on right now for you. Is there a particular area of life that you want to focus on more than another? And now is the time where you want to start planting the seeds in that area that you want to focus on.
okay, so you can't make this shit up, okay, guys? Because even as a seasoned reader, because the decks that I use are so thick in all of the definitions, and especially the cards that I use, they have multiple meanings for different factions of life, whether it's general, whether it's prosperity, whether it's health, everything like that. And of course, I opened up the book just to double check. I was like, yeah, I think I know what that means, but let me open up the book. Well, it opened up to the definition right away. And this is really easy, guys. For this energy for the next 3.5 days, we have peaks of joy and protection. And that talks about like you need to be happy with your achievements right now. And that understanding that, yeah, you're probably not to that goal or to that thing or to that material thing that you want, but don't deny yourself happiness in this moment. Okay? Like maybe you set new moon intentions that are big and bold for goals or aspirations that you have for yourself, right? How about be happy in what you've achieved already so far right now, right? Don't poo poo your own woo woo.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay. Be happy with yourself and proud of yourself that you've even gotten here to even realize where you can go from here. Like
That's a
that.
great message.
Yeah, that's one way that you guys can take advantage of this energy in the next 3 days. And this also has to do a little bit with Gemini. Self-talk. How are you communicating with yourself? Don't talk shit to yourself, okay? Just don't.
New moons are always a great time to really be thinking about where you want to go in 6 months. So be thinking about those medium term goals, not long term. Because have y'all ever heard of the term SMART goal?
So wait a minute. 6 months from now, so that's gonna be in Sagittarius season.
Yes. Yes. You're going to want to be looking at kind of where you want to be 6 months from now. So, whenever you see the full moon in Gemini, because we're at the new moon in Gemini, whenever you see the flip side of it, which is the full moon in Gemini 6 months from now, you're going to want to be thinking about kind of where you want to be in that time period. Because what you're going to be seeing, what you're going to be reaping then is going to be the seeds that you're sowing now. And that goes for every new moon. So you're going to want to look at where you're going to want to be 6 months from that current new moon.
From that current. And, yeah, SMART goals.
So, yeah, so SMART goals is a great way of trying to figure out where you want, or kind of how to make a good solid goal. So I kind of forgot the exact terminology that they use. So SMART goal stands for specific. You want to get specific. Sorry, I just did a quick Google search just because I was like, So you want to get specific. You want to make sure that you have exactly kind of what you're envisioning in mind, but you want to be flexible. You want to be a little flexible with it because you might not exactly get exactly what you want, because what you might really be wanting might be a cover for something that you really want.
Yeah, but you
So
might also get something better.
you might even get something better too. You want to leave room for that. And then you want to make sure that it's measurable, which stands for the M in SMART goal. You want to make sure it's measurable. So you want to be thinking, okay, 6 months from now, okay, how can I check my process involving with where my goals are going? So if you, let's say right now you're wanting to write a book, that's a great new moon in Gemini activity. You might want to write something, you might want to make a podcast or something. So you want to start the seeds now, the planning process. So how are you going to measure that process going out into the future? You might want to make little mini specific goals along the way. Is it achievable? That's kind of what you're going to do after you figure out, okay, so if it's measurable, if it's achievable, then that's how I'm going to be able to see, is this maybe a reasonable goal, or is this something that might seem a little too lofty for the time period? And then is it relevant? Is it something that you actually want to do and not somebody else? And then you want to be time based. So that would be your 6 month period, because that's when you're going to start seeing the results of what you're sowing now. So make sure you're getting really raw and real, especially with journaling. Journal during this new moon, y'all. That's going to be a fantastic way to figure out what you really want and what the goals that you truly want to have.
Yeah. And this, I really like this new moon. It's hitting my eighth house. So I'm happy about that. I'm looking at what are the resources. Give me resources. New ones, old ones, revamped ones, you know.
This new moon is happening opposing the new moon that happened when I was born. So this is a big this is a big new moon for me.
Oh
Yeah, this is a
wow.
big new moon for me because I was born on a new moon. And
So
so
this
this new moon,
says, so with the opposition, you guys, and the opposition of the new moon now and his birth new moon is that says like where are we emotionally growing? Where are we expanding?
yeah.
Big.
And so this one for me, because Mercury is also involved here, this is really me being able to go live, being able to do this. This quite literally is that. So that's how great way of seeing, like, oh, I'm starting to sow the seeds now because I just got permissions to go live. That's the new moon. You're able to start sowing the seeds. You just got this new opportunity. You're now able to do something with it. 6 months from now, if I want to keep it up, I'm going to start seeing positive results from it. That's a great example,
Yep.
and like a real life example of how that will work. So new moons and full moons are extremely powerful.
Yes.
And if you want to learn more about new and full moons, I am teaching a round of beginning astrology tomorrow night. So you can go sign up for that on the Starseek Astrology website. So,
You
um,
can't
yeah.
do me, Eli, so everybody knows how you talk about somebody else. Do me.
Yeah. So let me pull your
And I'll
chart
share
up.
what my goals are and we'll see and then you guys can kind of gauge how to set this for yourself as well.
Yeah, of course, because goals are so important. I don't think people realize how important goals are to have something to be working towards, to be putting your energy into. Let me see. Okay. I'm just pulling your chart up real quick. Okay, so yeah, this new moon is happening it's actually happening conjunct your eighth house cusp, which makes it even more important because it's really showing you right now. I really think you're going to have a growth in your Patreon just by looking at this. I think you're going to have a growth in your Patreon, and you might even have some cool content that you're going to be releasing soon if you haven't already been planning that. So it might be something new, it might be something completely different from something you've ever done before, but it's going to be successful and
The
people are going to
show.
like it. So,
I have this show. Yeah, my editor is nearly done with the TV show.
okay. So yeah, You know what you might could do? Do like a Patreon only podcast, like interview exclusive with the people that you were doing the show with, and then people can see the behind the scenes working of the show.
Oh, we've got it.
I was about to say, you probably already got that. So, yeah. Yeah, that's like you have like this is a really big new moon for you. Let's see what else is going on here. It's also it's also squaring off of your Saturn in your 10th, which is really showing, which is really kind of bringing you in the spotlight in a little way. So, just saying,
The
just saying.
TikToks are doing good.
Huh?
The TikToks are doing good.
Yeah, no, that's what I've noticed too with mine too. Now that Saturn is in Aries and it's kind of led off on my Mercury, I'm telling you, my TikToks have been going great. Like
I
because
know.
before,
Mine too. I was like, I think because Saturn moved into Aries and they were like, okay, good structure setting up in Pisces. Now let's reward you a little bit.
well, actually, I don't think for you it was actually Saturn. I actually think it was Mars for you because Mars just crossed over your midheaven.
Oh, into my 10th house. Okay.
Yeah. And anytime you have a planet that pops over your midheaven, you're going to see you kind of having to step up in some type of way. Depends on the planet as to how, and it also depends on the sign that's on your midheaven as to how as well. So it's different for everyone, which is why it's so important to get a consultation or a reading to really be able to figure out what that means for you because
Yeah.
everyone's going to be different.
Everyone is going to be different, but with me, Eli just said it. With that new moon happening on the cusp of kind of my eighth house right there, like it's almost like I'm doing the things that I need to do, right? So instead of planting seeds that I'm going to bring something brand new into, what I can do is say, like, what seeds can I add to keep growing that, which I already
Yes.
have,
Yeah.
right? Like, how can I nurture my Patreon? How can I nurture this, what is already in effect? We can do that for new moons, right?
Yeah. No, new moons are just the start of something new. And it's about planting those seeds to continue that newness and nurture it into something growth that you're going to be reaping the results and the fruit from on the full moon, on the corresponding full moon. So I've seen a lot of really bad astrology information online about how whenever you have a new moon, you're planting the seeds for the full moon that's coming in the next 2 weeks. And I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It's not that quick. It is not that quick at all. Like I've never just started a goal being like, oh, I'm gonna save up for a new car and then have all the money in 2 weeks. It's not the snap of a finger like that. It usually takes a whole lot longer. Like you don't just start growing lilac blossoms 2 weeks after you get the plant. Like that's not how that works. Now 6 months though, you might, but that's just kind of the cycle of the new and full moons. And so you're actually going to see it in the corresponding sign 6 months later. So that's how that process actually works. Whenever I see people who just say, "Oh, you get it 2 weeks later," like they've not had any experience of any type of observation of astrology whatsoever, and it kind of stresses me out in a way. Not gonna lie. So
No, you cannot join, dude. Ugh, ugh. No, and Eli brings up a really great point about even when we go to like our oracles and things like that. I always like to say sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but everything will always manifest if you just work for it in one way or another. And we have to realize that, like, and there, I wouldn't say this. I would say, a few times some things have just shown up at my door because it was just kind of right time, right alignment. Is that the rule? No. It's very much the exception, but for the most part, it's kind of preparing you. New moons kind of allow your mind, your heart, and your spirit to get ready to be able to receive, to open up to that thing or that experience or whatever it is that you're wanting to have. So it kind of, what I think of new moons is it helps you get through resistance patterns or layers of gatekeeping that allow you to be like, yeah, I'm open to that.
It's tending the garden.
It is tending the garden, and you are you're the gardener of your own garden. You can grow what you want. You can definitely have all the weeds or all the seeds, all the sunflowers that you possibly want in all of your gardens. And it's really funny. This is what I do, you guys. I won't get it out over here because there's just too much crap in the way. But I have my God box over here. And what that is for is like I write down my new moon intentions and I put it in there, and it has all these really good crystals, and it has just a little bit of light in there so it can get that sunlight to be able to grow. And then I go back every month. I go in there because I want to find what did I want to manifest 6 or 7 months ago, and I'll find that new moon intention, and I'll see how far have I come on that. Oh wow, that all came true. Or oh wow, yeah, I'm really, really, really on my way to getting that. Matter of fact, even today, I shit you guys not. I went on this kind of rampage today. You ever get into one of these like I must reorganize everything?
Oh, I get in those a lot. Funny enough, I got in that today too.
Or another one of those weather alerts was coming in. So I went on this like, well, I've had it for a few weeks. That there's been a couple, like I have multiple like 3-tier storage drawers in my closet, in my bathroom with stuff, makeup, medicine, bags of all that kind of stuff that we have. And today I just was like, I'm gonna rearrange a couple things in the closet, and then all of a sudden I started rearranging the 3-tier in my closet that has a bunch of stuff, and I'm just tossing stuff out, and I'm like, well, there was that thing that I looked for forever, and there was that one thing that I forgot I ever had. And why do I have 14-year-old medication in here? Why? I don't know. But as I was looking through one 3-tier cabinet, I moved over to the next one in the bathroom. I said, well, if I did that one that fast, I can do this one over here pretty darn fast. And as I was looking through one of my makeup bags, I'm like, what's this letter in here? And I open it up, and I don't know, I had made it into, those things where you go,
Like a stress ball?
no, you cut the paper. And you go,
oh, the fortune teller things.
Yeah, you go boop 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 boop.
Oh
I
shoot!
had made one, and I said, "What is this?" And I opened it up, and I started reading it, and it was a new moon manifest from 2014, April of 2014.
Oh wow!
And I read it, and I remember I got everything on that within 6 months. And all I was looking for was a very specific place to live. Not like an address, but I had very specifics. Like I wanted to live like close to the highway and close to here, but I wanted to be close enough to where I could go walking. And I wanted, this nearby and that nearby. And I got everything. And I read that. I was like, God damn, I got everything real quick after that. I put my mind to it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's one thing with new moons too, is you don't just want to make an intention and just let the wind take it. You want to also be working with the universe on it. Because you're the gardener, okay? You're the gardener. And you're kind of, when you set a good intention, that's kind of you trying to make it very crystal clear with the universe to be like, hey, this is what I want. What can you offer me to help me get there?
Yeah.
And I'm giving you my intention in return, because it's giving clear instructions as to kind of like, hey, I want to get this done. And you kind of have to uphold your end of the bargain too. So you can't just be like, I want a new car and then not do anything to get the new car, and just assume that the universe is going to take care of it. You also have to be making an effort there too. You don't just get off scot-free. So that's kind of how I always have taught it to other people. That's how I always have explained it with people and all of that jazz.
I love this, Eli. I love this. Look, I pulled a card for everybody. And I said, what does everybody need to know about actually like writing their intention? Like what do they need to remember about it? Because we can go over how the hows on kind of to do that. I pulled spirit of place and protection. Okay. And you guys, I shit you not. Let me read this out loud in reverse. It says, don't get entangled in details or desires that obscure the truth of your situation. Step back and ask yourself, what is the real nature of my inquiry? Right? Even exquisitely seductive hidden agendas cannot conceal this. Trust your intuition. The spirit of place is whispering in your ear. You hold the powers to tell the truth, first to yourself, then to the world. You can always distinguish between the essence that is true and the one that is synthetic. Be honest with yourself and remain willing to let your situation be revealed for what it is and not for what you want it to be. An apple cannot be an orange. A dog cannot be a cat. You are, and don't try to change people, places, and things. And so that really says, like, get honest with yourself about what you're really, really, really wanting to create. And a quick and easy way to do that, guys, is to say something like, even with this new moon in Gemini, even if you don't know what house it's happening in, you don't know anything. If you know Gemini is just basically about communication, right? Who do you want to communicate with? How do you want to communicate? How do you want to communicate?
Well, it's more so. I mean, yes, it is communication, but like if we're getting extremely, to the core essence of Gemini, it's the sharing of information.
Yeah. It's the sharing, and that could be the being honest with yourself, right? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what you can do is ask yourself why 7 times. So for instance, if you say like, I just want a better job. A better job where people hear me. Well, why? Well, because I feel like my ideas get left on the floor and nobody listens to me here. Well, why? Well, because I've been so used to that my whole life. Everybody just ignores me. Well, why? Well, because I was too scared to stick up for myself and never worked through my anxiety of codependence and start to dig and see what's really going on there, that you can be like, oh, this isn't about wanting a better job. This is about wanting myself to be a better communicator with me and with others.
That's a great example.
And when you and it's gentle, it's like, why? Well, because,
Yeah.
we probably had shitty parents or whatever. But just asking yourself those little questions, and yeah, you can have a shitty job and still need another job at the same time. This and that can be true. However, when you just start asking yourself, well, why? Be your own 4-year-old. Well, why?
That's one thing I've always loved to do. But then again, here we go. I'm a Sagittarius sun and moon. So I do ask myself why. I always have. I've always loved just asking why. And I like asking why to my whys, like exactly what you were sharing. And a lot of times I've seen people, especially now on the internet, be like, don't ask why. Ask all the other question words like how, what, when. It's important to ask those too. But at the end of the day, you always want to ask why at the very end, or at least at some point in the process, because you're not going to be able to answer any of the other questions and get a good sense of context there unless you ask why.
Yeah, and that's kind of stupid, because it's like, what do people always ask about, like, Oh, did you hear such and such got convicted of doing this? Well, why? Why did he do that?
Right.
Right?
Now, see,
Oh,
some
did
people are
you
like,
hear
oh, what we
such and
need to.
such moved? Well, why would he move?
Right. And
That's just avoidance.
I do understand why a lot of people have. Oh, there we go with why again. I understand why people might want to say it. They might want to avoid why, and they're like they want to focus on the who, what, when, where, why, or the who, what, when, where. I do get that because if you ask why too much and you get so caught up in just asking why and you forget the actual reason why you're asking why. I get why you might want to ask a little bit of the who, what, when, where's. It's always good to ask those too. It's always just good to ask questions, period. But
Well, it was good because it just said that in the spirit of place in protection. It says, don't get entangled in details or desires that obscure the truth of the situation.
yeah, case in point.
Case in point, that would be, you know, you know, I would ask, at what point are you, you know, at what point are you okay are going to just accept the information that you have now?
Right. Now, as a Sagittarian, sun and moon, I'm gonna tell you, I never just accept what people give me at face value. Ever, ever, ever. I always go and ask why. And I also tend to also be the one to ask the who, what, when, where's as well. And it's important to ask a good balance of all of those. Don't just focus on one and don't just focus on another because then you're going to get stuck. You're going to get stuck and you're going to get skewed results. You want to ask a good balance of questions. You want to ask the what's, the whens, the where's, the how's, and the why's. Don't just focus on why, and just like you might not want to just completely avoid why either. But I know it is kind of trending to avoid asking why now because everyone's like, "Oh, you got to focus on the present reality." And I'm like, to that, I'm like,
I would
seriously?
love to like make a video where you're like literally giving yourself a wedgie and a pair of shorts or something and like turn around and be like, and then cry.
Right? Like that would be a
Should I not ask why?
That's wild. No, but yeah, it's like it's great to just ask questions. In this new moon that we got happening tonight, it's a great time to ask questions because you got Mercury in its home sign, and then this new moon's conjunct that Mercury. So, always be thinking about kind of where you want to be 6 months from now. Ask yourself why, and then ask yourself the how, what, whens, and where's too, because that's how you're going to access that. So, be thinking about that because that's how it goes for every new moon. Kind of like how I was mentioning earlier, whatever seeds you're sowing during a new moon, the corresponding full moon for that new moon 6 months later is what you're going to be seeing the results from the new moon that you were planting those seeds for or weren't planting those seeds for, which is why it's so important to hone your consciousness on what you want because then
Yeah.
you're going to get more of what you want. You're not just going to be shooting your arrows into the wind and just assume that the universe is going to give you what you want because that's not how the universe works. Sorry.
No, we have to be a little bit more specific. And sometimes, even if you don't know, just kind of shoot for, let me see what's in my highest and best and work on it from there.
Yep. And here's the thing about here's
And
my
I will tell you the truth. I will tell you the honest truth, you guys. There have been a lot of new moons where I've passed up making intentions because I really wasn't clear on what I wanted. So I wasn't going to plant seeds being unclear. So I just kind of said, you know what I need right now just to finish what's on my plate. I don't think I need to be setting anything new, and I need to forge forward. And when those new ideas,
I was making you the puzzle pieces.
that weather alert's
Oh.
coming through. And when those come back up for a new moon, then I'll set the new intention. But I will honor the new moon, but I'm not going to plant seeds that I'm just like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, I do know some people, and I have helped a couple of people through readings really learn what they want because sometimes people don't know what they want. And so they're just like, I'm manifesting the highest good and opportunities for me. And I'm like, okay, you're going to have to be more specific. What are those things that you're wanting? They're like, well, I actually don't know. And I'm like, well, that would be a great time to journal and figure it out. Like, do you think that maybe having a full pantry is nice? Well, yeah. and you don't have a full pantry right now, well, it's about halfway full. Okay, well, that gives you something to work on. So you can hone your energy during during that new moon. Be like, well, I want a full pantry. Is it going to
Yeah,
cost a little bit? Yeah. Okay, well, then how can we get there? That's when you start thinking about those things. Those new moons are a great time to do it.
yeah. Those and I mean it is funny that whole like whatever's in my highest and best. It's like
It sounds a little
you
bit like
don't
love
know
and
what's
light
in your highest and
spirituality to
best.
me.
How do you know it won't pass you by?
Right? You got to be able to identify it.
Yeah. You got to be able to. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of the artist's way?
I think I actually have, but let me jog my
Look
memory.
it up. I need to go get a cough drop. I'll be right back. Hold on.
All right, I'm gonna look at this artist. I think I have heard of that before. I may have even had to read a little bit of it. So, yeah, yeah, I think I have. I have seen that before. Yeah, thanks for liking the live, guys. It helps us get seen. But yeah, we got lots of cool astrology activity happening because we had Saturn pop into Aries yesterday, and then we have this new moon today, and then let's see what else do we got going on. Yeah, this new moon's very powerful because it's happening sextile it's sextiling with Pluto and or I'm sorry, it's sextiling with Saturn and Neptune and then trining off with Pluto. So that's what makes this new moon extra extra special. So
Extra, extra. But yeah, so I highly recommend the artist's way
mhm.
to anybody who is on a. What's the weirdest sound? I think somebody left a dog outside. It was like,
Yeah.
um, but it is a wonderful, wonderful workbook for anybody who is wanting to do um some really good personal development. I highly recommend that workbook. And it was a lot of fun for me. She kind of gives you, permission to just kind of write your heart out, do what you want, be your own artist, whatever that looks like. Encourages, time for yourself. And it is a really good way to hold yourself accountable. But the one thing that I love about that book is it teaches you the meditative art of journaling, which is
Yeah.
good for Gemini season, everybody. So if you're so inclined, go. You can find it on Amazon. I absolutely love I love it. It's a it really helped me in a time where I really, really, really needed something stable like that. Um,
Yeah.
she gave me kind of um, a life raft,
Yeah.
so to say, of communications.
I have creative visualization, the workbook that goes with that, sitting on my in my bookshelf right now, and I've been wanting to get into that one.
I highly recommend it. I just swallowed air.
Well, Tracy, to your point, why did you swallow it?
Why did you do something like that?
Why did you do that?
What did you learn from that?
Yeah, right.
Learn, don't do
Yeah.
that shit again. Um. Ooh, no. I try to like talk and anyway, I tried to do too many things all at once. Well, hi, Bubbakins. Come here.
How very Gemini, doing all the things all the time.
I know. I know. Well, you know, eighth house in Gemini. That's why I have multiple sources of income and resources.
That is actually that is very accurate interpretation of your specific. eighth house, because
Yeah.
I have your chart pulled up, and as you're talking, I'm just kind of making little notes and observations as an astrologer does. People are experiments, and so, oh
And
man.
with the Neptune in my second house, yeah, I'm willing to go on faith on a few things and try some things out intuitively, see what works.
Or it can also, I think that Neptune in your second house is actually kind of giving you more of a that is your main source of income. You know, being able to tune in psychically and um, really be able to see. Let me see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anything spiritual.
yeah, and also there's a little bit of education aspect of it. Like you want to blow through a lot of the BS that's out there too, and so there's a little bit of that that actually gets people to you as well. So
That's pretty much on par course for what I do.
yeah, and I mean that just goes to show how like that's what I talk about in readings all the time. Like whenever someone books a natal chart reading with you, which by the way, you can go to starseekastrology.com and get yourself a natal chart reading. Oh, it's making me do the little puzzle piece thing for the first time. I've never had to do. Oh no. Oh no. Hang on. There we go. Okay.
Got
I
it?
did it wrong the first time and it was stressing me out. No, but I've never had to do the puzzle piece before now, and so I'm a little honored. But anyhow, so I have readings available on starseekastrology.com. You can use the code SAVE20. It's just SAVE20 and get yourself a 20% off reading up in there. So, natal charts, we discuss anything from we discuss like your makeup, you know, like your energetic makeup, like who you are, what you like to do, the things that you do in your spare time, you know, like what you really benefit from, what you don't benefit from, you know, how you can get the most of what you want. And then consultations are more so like if you have specific dates that you want to look at in the future and you need some guidance or you have a project or something, you can and you need a little bit of astrology consult advice, you would get a consultations. But yeah, so if you're interested in natal readings, which is kind of like what I was doing with Tracy just a second ago, that's just a little taste tester as to what a natal chart reading is,
Yeah,
and they're
and you guys,
spooky
it's
accurate.
really helpful to know like you're on the right, like you're doing what you contracted to do with yourself. You're not off path. You're not, it's really good confirmation to know that, you guys, to be like, oh, okay, I'm not the problem, right?
Yeah,
And
and sometimes it even helps you own the fact that you are the problem in all the good ways. Just saying. Because I
yeah,
know when I had my first reading, who I had my first reading with, I realized, you know what? I'm the best problem that ever existed because the world really needs something to solve, and I love being the one to solve, be the, you know, and that's something that astrology really helps you out with, and so
yeah,
that is that is why I always recommend getting a natal chart reading, and even if you've had a natal chart reading before, you might want to get one with another person to be able to, or another astrologer to be able to see, oh, you know, like how things really kind of remain true no matter who the astrologer is if they're doing it right, as well as you get to hear other people's commentary as well. And so it's really neat to see how different readers read differently as well, but still get the same at the end, the same interpretation. So
and
it's
I'll
really
hit
neat.
differently, you guys. It will, just like when you get a natal reading or a psychic mediumship reading, you know, different people are going to work with you at different times, and you're going to be able to hear messages differently every single time. And like I had this was pre pandemic, is that I before I met Lori, I was using another kind of localish astrologer. Well, I like to say, I guess he got lost in the pandemic because I never heard from him. I reached out to him multiple times. No return call, no call back. And but I remember specifically in multiple readings, he would tell me all the time, and he would show me the charts, and he would walk me through things, and he would be like, and you'll understand more of this one day. He was like, you'll understand astrology a whole lot more one day. And I would always think at that time, and I'm like, I don't know, man. This seems like hefty, heavy lifting. Like,
And
I don't know.
it is a lot of
And
heavy
like,
lifting. Yeah.
fast forward, here I am, and I'm like, okay, I can learn this. I can do
Yeah.
this. I don't have to know it all today.
And
I
here's the
don't
thing
need
about
to know it.
astrology. Even the most expert of all experts who've been doing this for 40 years are still learning. That's the point of little professional development things. You know, you're really going through and you're trying to you're still learning. You don't ever just know everything there is to know about anything. And that goes for astrology, that goes for theology, that goes for psychic mediumship, that goes for psychology, that goes for any different field of study. You are going to always be learning. I love how I'm holding a pen in my hand because I was writing something down. How very Gemini. But I will say that you're always going to be learning and you're never going to stop unless something's very, very, very wrong. So it's okay to accept. Like, like I'm gonna be so honest. I've been studying astrology for almost 4 years now. I really started in 2020 when I was in eighth grade. But that was when I was kind of going through the sifting through pop astrology. But I really didn't get like actually down into like the what does this actually like where is the actual truth in this? And that was in 2021, 22, something like that. And so I'd have to go back through my journals for the exact dates. But now here I am reading for people, doing multiple readings a week, doing having repeating clients who are absolutely fantastic, by the way. I've loved every single client that I've read for. Like there's not a single client who I'm like, you know what? Like here's the thing. When you see a person's astrology chart, you see their humanity. And you see that people are people. That sometimes people are coming to you on the worst day of their life. And being able
Yeah.
to help them through that and treat them as a human is one of the most beautiful experiences that I have ever had. And that is why I am an astrologer. So,
It is. People come to us on rough days, great days, all different types of days. But thank you so much, Emerald Medium, for all of those liking the lives. I saw that. Thank you very much. Taps or claps, everybody. Taps are definitely claps. So you y'all put in the comments like what's your birth month? Maybe Eli can help you out. What's your birth month, or do you have something seeds you're trying to plant for new moon? Give us some
yeah,
questions and topics.
we have some pretty gnarly new and full moons this year. I was going through cuz by the way, y'all, I'm going to go and put a little promotion in here for y'all. So, starting on June 1st, if you join my Patreon, you're a Patreon member, you get early access to the semi-annual sale that I do it every December and every June. And so what it is, it's there's I do exclusive readings, and there's only limited spots available, and they usually go out pretty quick. So I have exclusive readings, and they're open to Patreon members for the first 14 days of June, and then the last of June is when I open them to the public. But they might not ever make it to the public because usually my Patreon members take care of it and eat it up. But I'm opening year ahead readings, and I'm only opening three. I only have three slots available, mainly just because I don't have time to do a million year ahead readings because they take a lot. They're like 2.5 hour
A
readings,
lot of work.
and there's a lot of work. And so you can be able to use the year ahead reading
Yep.
opportunity to be able to see, hey, there's this new moon coming up. Here's how that's going to actually be impacting me on not a very general level, but like on a very specific level. And then what am I going to be reaping the results of that new moon in the following 6 months? And the year ahead gets you to be able to see all six lunar cycles for the whole year. And so that's how you're able to it's a great guidepost. It's a great guidepost. But I'm opening those to Patreon members. You can go to the Starseek Astrology Patreon, and it's also just under my name, Eli Gomez, too. and be able to sign up there to get exclusive access to those year ahead readings too. And I love year ahead readings. I this is the first time I've ever opened them up to the internet. I've never done them on the internet before. I've only done them in person and by referral only. But year ahead readings are my favorite readings ever to do that I've ever read for. I've done consultations, I've done relationship readings, I've done natal chart readings, but year aheads are my absolute favorite
Yes.
because you
Sorry.
get to see in real time with the client kind of the trajectory that you can set. And you get to see all the little aha moments from the client because you're the client's like, oh, yeah, I have been working on this little thing. Or, oh, I have been doing that. And so it'll be interesting to see the results from that. And that's why I always recommend your head rings. And you can sign up for your head rings on the Patreon, the Starseek Astrology Patreon on June 1st. June 1st is when I open them up. But you got to kind of get a little quick with them because I only have 3 spots available. Hey, Melly, how are you? I see
Hi.
you popping in
Sorry
the
about
comments.
that. I'm getting my phone's blowing up with weather alerts and flood watches, and
Oh, no.
they're like, "Don't go anywhere," and I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm in my 40s and I belong to the like we don't care no more club. I ain't going
Yeah.
nowhere. Some
Now, I had a very Sagittarius moment the other day. So I didn't know if you knew that. Well, you might have known this because I know you and I tend to stalk each other's TikTok pages out of love, and so I was in Nashville the other. I guess it was I was there for 3 days last week, and I left Arkansas to go to Nashville on Monday, and then I came back on that Thursday, and when I tell you, it stormed every single day that I was there. Except for the days that I drove there and drove back. And those are the only days that it didn't storm. But I wasn't actually going to Nashville. I was going to a little suburb outside of Nashville. And one of the days that it was storming really, really bad, and it was like really bad tornado weather, I did have to drive to Nashville for something. And so when I was driving I-65 and I was just going through all the little flood sections. And I know my phone was blowing up and was like saying severe weather, severe weather. And then here I am, little Sagittarius, being like, screw you. Just flying down 10 lanes of traffic, going 70 miles an hour during severe weather. So that was very dumb. Don't recommend that. But I did it just because that's just my nature.
you had to get things done. The Sagittarius, the bigger than life. I can do
And the
this
thing was,
shit.
is I wasn't going to anything super important. I was just going to Opry Mills Mall with my friend or with my cousin. So I was like, well, there we go.
You're
Again,
like,
don't
well,
recommend
I'm just
driving
gonna
in severe
go
weather. I just happened to do that because I drive a truck and I knew what I was doing and I know the roads there because I've been there a million times. So
I just yeah, it yeah. I'll try to stay my ass home during. If I gotta go somewhere and I need to do something, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But like for the most part, no. Me, I belong to the We Don't Care No More club. We don't care no more to drive in badass weather if we don't have to.
I'll get there eventually. Right now, I'm like, adventure.
Well, I could do I could do adventure like in the daylight.
Well, okay, I'm not gonna lie though. I'm kind of the same way with that one too because I have really, really, really bad astigmatism. So driving at night is almost blinding for me. And so when I do have to drive at night, which is actually very often because most of my friends are around the same age as I am, even though I do have a couple of friends who I do consider of the senior citizen club, which those are some of my favorite friends because they taught me how to knit, and that's one of my favorite things to do. And but whenever I'm going out with friends, driving is one of the hardest things to do at night because all my friends are like party, 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 and I'm like, I really don't like partying because this eighth house sun and then can't. It just stresses me out and it's too much stimulation. And so I usually drive home by myself and I'm like, oh my God, it's so hard with those headlights coming at you and you can't see what's going there because you're, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a hot mess. So I do feel you on the don't like to drive at night.
I'm like, I can see all right with a pair of glasses, but
Even with glasses, I can't because astigmatism is not going to be fixed by glasses. That I would have to get, I guess, LASIK for or something, but I don't know. But yeah, it's a it's a wild situation there. Astigmatism.
yeah, sorry about that. I keep getting warnings and things like that. Yeah, it's it's no fun about that, you guys. But you just kind of it's one of those things to me. It's like, well, now you're at the point where you're like, just drive a little slower, and I, and get it done. I know when I get older, you guys, I'm gonna be somewhere where I ain't gonna have to worry about driving. Like if I want to go somewhere, I'll have a self-driving car, or I'll have somebody else being able to drive me because I'm just not. Yeah, I just won't be in the mood. I'm just gonna be a passenger, Empress, at that point, and I'll be okay with that. But you got to have hashtag goals, and
Of
that's part of my
course.
goal. It's like I don't know exactly how that's gonna happen, but we're all gonna be, we're all gonna be all right. We're all
Yeah.
gonna be all right. I keep having really kick-ass visions. We're all gonna be all right. I don't know the how. I don't know the when. Well, I kind of know the when. I don't know all of that, but we're gonna be all right, you guys. It looks like it's downright and dirty and nasty and but
Well, here's the thing. You
it,
can be
it, it
having the world could be going to hell in a handbasket, and you
yeah.
still have the best day of your life. Take the win. Don't try and feel like because the world's going to hell in a handbasket that you have to as well. That is just as much ego as sitting there and trying to say that, you're above everybody. No, that is just as much ego as that. Take the win when you can.
I tell people all the time, if that was you, if suddenly you had a $5 million winning lottery ticket in your hand, would you say, I'm not going to go cash this because the other part of the world is falling apart and somebody is suffering in such and such a country because of such and such a thing?
Right. But you know
No.
that people tend to dissociate the true meaning behind money with
You know
their
why? I
values.
think it's because my generation grew up with there's starving kids in China.
Oh, yeah. See, we never grew up like at least my generation never grew up with that. In fact, I've not even this is the first time I've ever heard about that. So, yeah.
You better eat all your food. There's starving kids in Africa. You better eat all your food. There's starving kids in Asia.
Yeah, I never grew up with that. I always grew up with there are homeless people on the street and they would come and smack you if you didn't eat your food. That's what I grew up with.
I always grew up with my dad would drive around and he'd go, "You see that right there? You see that, girls? Yeah. What's that, Dad? That's a shit bomb. You're not gonna be that. You see, you don't talk to those people. Yeah."
What in the caste system?
Oh my! And trust me, these people were not like just like Joe Schmo walking around in a hoodie. This was,
Yeah,
these were, yeah. He was like, "Don't ever talk to them people."
that's wild. Yeah, like here's my thing. I always grew up talking to every single person that I could ever possibly like. I would
That's
strike
why
a
my dad
conversation
did that
at
because I
three
talked
with
to
the
every
pay
single
less
goddamn
shoes.
person.
Yeah, I would grow up like I remember having a very in depth conversation with the pay less shoes cashier at 3 years old, and that was the thing. And I'm like, I'm sitting here, and I would just be having, and my mom would just be sitting there like, so embarrassed because her 3-year-old is having a mature conversation with a Payless Shoes cashier. And then someone would come over and pull her aside and be like, that kid's going places. And I'm like, I was just curious what her necklace brand was. And I was like, no one just expects that out of a 3-year-old, I guess. But I never understood why some people, or at least adults when I was growing up, were always like, they would always be like, "You're just a kid. You shouldn't be asking those questions." I'm like, but if I was ready to answer, if I was ready for an answer, that's why I'm asking the question to begin with, you know? Like,
Like, yeah, exactly. And the whole thing was is that, you know, you can answer a kid's question. You don't have to answer it fully, but you can give them something at least to digest on. And
right.
that brings up another good point. Getting readings about your kids and helping to understand how they communicate and how they think. It's always a really good idea too.
Yeah.
Uh, to be able to understand your children, because just like Eli, I would literally talk to a wall if I thought it would talk back to me. And
Oh,
sometimes it
I
did.
grew up talking to walls. I grew up talking to people who were not actually there. So I'm just saying, like I had my dose of imaginary friends. So,
I lived
yeah.
I mean, my backyard was a cemetery.
Yeah.
So growing up, but it was a lot too. And I think my dad, well, I think my dad was so harsh in his criticism of the world is because one of the reasons is because I was so open to everybody. I wanted to talk to everybody. I wanted to know about things. I was very accepting of people who they were. I wasn't scared of people. And he wanted me to be more, in his mind, I think he wanted me to be more cautious about the world. So in his mind, it was let me scare her versus explain to her.
Yeah. I think
What?
I think there's a lot of very interesting stories and methods of doing things that have gotten passed down from the boomer generation to the Gen Xers to then the Gen Zers and millennials. It's really interesting how sometimes when there are some Gen Xers who may not have deconstructed from a lot of the crap that the boomers kind of laid upon them. Not all of it was crap, but a good, like, at least 75% of it was. And then how some Gen Xers didn't deconstruct from that and then pushed it on again to the millennials and the Gen Zers. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is really wild. This is a really wild observation of mine. In
No,
my own generation, when I still see those very boomer mindset, conservative mindset things in Gen Z, and I'm like, how, y'all, look around the world. You know, you have the internet in your hands. Do you still want to hang on to that? Is that
program
what you want to do?
interruptus did not happen. It did
Wait,
not happen for them.
yeah,
It didn't it at all. And you can see it in our families how some people grew and some people did not. And there will be times, and I have a sneaky feeling I will have a sudden rush back trip to my hometown for a funeral, that I will go back there and I will get re-messaged and re-remember about why I moved away from there. It's because people are still stuck in high school. They're still stuck in that mentality. So much so to the point where you will see people that are older, and when I mean older, I mean 50, 60, 70 years old, introduce each other at funerals by name of high school, year of graduation.
interesting. That's a little freaky, but
That's how they self-identify class and upbringing.
yeah,
Anybody else's parents do that kind of stuff? I'd love to know in the comments.
Well,
Like,
I would say that okay, so I have a very interesting set of parents. So right now, my only parent figure in my life is my stepdad because both of my parents were alcoholics. Both of my biological parents were alcoholics. So my dad was an alcoholic and my mom was a closeted alcoholic. So like she wasn't out there partying, but when she would get home, she would have 6 beers. And so yeah, and then she would go and tell everyone that, oh, she just had one. And then I was like, ma'am, that's not what I just saw. But okay.
see, Eli, you did not understand her. She did. She had 1 6 pack.
Except that her packs that she got were 24 because 1 week she'd go through 24 cans of beer. That's how she would think. She's like, oh, it's just 24 for a week. But then when you dissect it and you're like, that's actually like 3 cans or more a night. So it's, yeah. But that's how she would rationalize in her head. And so obviously now, for those of you who've been keeping up with me in my Patreon, y'all are very aware that I'm no contact with both of my biological parents and that my biological mom and my stepdad are getting divorced and that my stepdad is the only one who is like acting as a parental figure in my life. So that's kind of that's the state of things right now. Now I'm going to tell you what's really interesting is how you can see that there is even though it may seem that it's a very ugly situation, I'm actually in the best time of my life right now. And now, and the reason why I bring that up is because we were talking about how the world can be going to hell in a handbasket and you still be living it up. Because let's just put it this way, I'm now living the Sagittarian dream of living on my own in my own apartment. And I have my own job. And I'm doing what I really want to be doing, which is astrology. It's unfortunate that this had to be the situation to crack that open and make it a reality. But the universe is going to take the path of least resistance. And
Yeah, but
so,
also too, that's the beauty of chaos and conflict.
yes.
That is the great time to renegotiate. And that when people talk about Eli, I have a bad placement in my chart. I have this planet opposing this planet. Everything's
Well,
gonna be shit.
first off, there's no such thing as a bad placement.
Right.
There's creative placements, which cause you to have to get a little creative because you're solving problems. And then there's also supportive placements, which are kind of more of the hey, I'm helping you out here. So you have those two different energies in two different placements. But a lot of times people get so caught up in, oh, it's harmonious or oh, it's disharmonious. And I'm like, you know what? All of this is disharmonious because none of that makes any lick of sense. So that's how I think of that. But I always really liked what my mentor Lori Rivers always said. It's either creative or it's supportive. It's whatever you make it out to be. And there's no just one placement that's just creative or supportive. Every placement has a creative aspect or a supporting aspect, and you have to kind of blend the two together. But
You gotta kind of look at that, you guys. Let us know what your birth month is because we'll talk about some things about the new moon and new moon in Gemini that's gonna be popping in like 35 minutes.
yeah, well, yeah,
Essentially,
30, yeah, pretty much 35 minutes, yeah.
yeah, in about 35 minutes and some change. For that on there, but it is about you guys that creative energy. Sometimes that static right before lightning strikes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh,
Yeah.
Shelby, you're a Gemini.
Yeah. So what
Happy
what
birthday,
time
guys.
of the month were you born? If you're a Gemini, because that'll be able to tell me if you are kind of the severity of this full moon in a good way. So I always love new moons conjunct the sun, especially if it's your solar return. Because this year my solar return was the same new moon that was when I was born. So this year was a giant year for me, like regardless. Like and my Venus return happened that same day too. And I was like, so all of those things were happening. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be a big year, whether I like it or not. And so, but here's the thing. Kind of like how I was mentioning before. The world can be going to hell in a handbasket, and you still have the best day of your life. So take the freaking win. And so that's kind of how this year was really teaching me that. It was like, this year, like,
Yes, you
things can
shall.
be going cuckoo for Cocoa Pebble Pops. But at the end of the day, this could be the best year of your life. So
Shelby, your birthday's June 3rd. This is about peaks of joy this new moon. So this is all about you like creating how can you help support things that bring you joy, that make you feel lighter in life, that maybe make others feel lighter in life? How can you lessen your load? How can you start to allow yourself to be joyful? And I keep hearing the words with you about play, and I keep seeing like I want to play a piano with you as well for this. Do you play a piano or you play an instrument, Shelby?
I was going to say, I was getting a little bit of that too. But yeah, if you're June 3rd, yeah, so this new moon won't be quite conjunct your sun, but it will still be around in that area. So you might get a really big burst of energy to start a project.
You should play a piano. Do you have an inclination to pick the piano up or another instrument? Something that you can do with your play, something you have it. Okay. Well, let's see how that starts to play out. Because I almost feel like it's time to get your rhythm back. Okay. Eli, what you got?
Yeah, so this new moon, if you're born June 3rd, this new moon won't be quite exactly um conjunct the sun there for your solar return, but what I will say, it's still kind of in the general area. So you might get a sudden desire to want to pick up a project or something. That's kind of what I was saying like before. I was like, I think I might be getting a little bit of that too. But typically Gemini suns. Here's the thing about sun signs. In popular astrology, people like to make it sound like, oh, your sun is your entire personality. And I'm like, no, the hell it isn't. It's your whole chart that's your personality. Your sun is just telling me how you get your energy. What really lights you up, what really does not light you up, what really sucks the life out of you. And so when you have a Gemini sun, really that just tells me is that you need constant mental stimulation and you get bored very easily. That's really all that tells me. If you're a Gemini sun, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that that means anything more. So your sun sign is really it. Now, if you want a whole reading where we go into your whole personality and get super specific, I do offer those services on Starseek Astrology. But just by having a Gemini sun, that I would say that what that tells me is that you are someone who really gets bored a little easily, and you really need a good sense of mental stimulation, whatever that means for you, because what might be mentally stimulating for one person might not be for another. For me, traveling is mentally stimulating, but then again, that's just because I'm a Sagittarius sun. So I also need that mental stimulation, but I also need a sense of exploration in there as well. Gemini is more so you just need this is the stimulative aspect of it. So that's how I would interpret that for you.
Well, good. It looks like you're headed for a good new year, Shelby. I'm happy for you. Sounds like you're about to have a good time this year. And if anybody else wants to share, what they want to do with this new moon in Gemini, you
Yeah,
know,
and
um,
I know I have a couple of people, who are in here who are just now popping in too, at least on my end. And so this new moon is very. I'm just gonna brush back over through kind of what it might be more on the mundane side of things because I always like to throw in a little mundane and stuff. So this new moon in Gemini, it is conjunct Mercury, and it is also sextiling off with Neptune and Saturn, and it's trining off with Pluto. This is big bada booms, y'all. we might wake up to some very, very interesting headlines tomorrow. Not gonna lie, we might really wake up to some interesting headlines, and we could see something. Um, we could see something about oil and gas, and specifically oil and gas prices in the news. And we could also potentially see. I'm getting a little bit when I look at this. We might see something with the Navy as well, just a little. We might see a little something. It doesn't have to be a bad news. We might just see a little bit of information coming from that department as well, just because of this particular new moon. It could be something as simple as, oh, they're deciding to maybe there's this new ship that there might be a couple of problems with that they're having to investigate, or it could be something along the lines of, oh, we're going to send some people over here. Like we might see some interesting news in that department. But yeah, this new moon's very interesting on the worldwide level. But I would say on a personal level, this new moon is really, really nice energy if you know how to wield it. If you know how to wield it, is really great. And how are you going to be able to wield it? Well, you're going to want to look at where 6 degrees of Gemini is in your birth chart. And you can cast a chart for free on astro.com or astroseek.com and find where 6 degrees of Gemini is. And whatever house that is falling in is going to be the area of life that is going to be most significantly impacted for you by this new moon. And it's going to be where you are going to start planting the seeds to get future results. That's how this new moon will be able to impact you in that way, and that's how you're going to be able to wield for the most positive results. Is you're going to look at all of those. You're going to look at all of those differentials and be able to decide. Hey, am I going to put a little bit more effort into planting seeds in this area of life, or am I just going to let the universe just kind of take the wheel on that one and I'm just going to get what I get and not throw a fit or throw a fit? You have the choice whether you want to throw a fit or not. So it really just depends. So if you want less fits, you might want to look at kind of where that is and start planting seeds in that corresponding house. Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. And even if you guys don't know what house everything is in, earlier I pulled a couple of cards for the practical magic side of how to set an intention just for the new moon in general. Even if you don't know what your placements are, that's okay. I always like to say, what is yours cannot pass you by. Okay, what is yours cannot pass you by. I just want you guys to be aware of that. So for the new moon in Gemini, we've got that popping on out. We've got Golden Palace. So you're going to be setting your intentions, guys, around worth and value of yourself. And so this could be as simple as talking to yourself in a little bit more worthy manners, seeing things in life that are worthy for you. What do you value more to go towards than what you valued before? Does that make sense? What new value do you have that you are wanting to work towards? I'm getting all of my words are just kind of like stalling out here just a bit, and that just tells me that I've got spirit coming through here trying to talk. So with Golden Palace, remember, guys, this is always about you are worthy. Like, you don't have to go seek it out. You were born worthy. You are worthy. This is about you working through that. So maybe new worthy communication. How about thinking about things that make you feel worthier? So that could be like, how do you dress? How do you present yourself? Can you do something a little bit more juju? How do you want to be seen? Go ahead and do that.
You know, I love that you use the word zhuzh. I think this is a very zhuzhing energy. It's
It
very
is.
zhuzhing,
Um,
adding a little bit of that stimulation to what already exists.
it does, Christy. Thank you so much for tapping the lives. I think it's kind of weird because I've got like so much going on here. I've got this storm going on outside. I've got spirit coming in. I've got yeah. I've got a lot of stimulation all at once. I'm like, ah, so much here. So much here.
There's
Uh,
so much to do in so little time because we only live in the moment. Yeah.
yeah, because we only live in the moment. Thank you so much, Christy. I really, 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 I really do appreciate that. I was really surprised that we even had this many people pop in for a live this late in the evening on Memorial Day.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple of people pop in here that I've seen. Yeah. I would say
What's
that
your Christy? What's the day? What's your birthday month? Let's see what's going on with you. October, Libra or Scorpio, huh?
trying to think, were you what time in October were you born?
Scorpio, so you're
You're a
later
Scorpio.
October.
Yeah. So Scorpio suns are getting interesting. So because you just had Jupiter and Taurus last year, kind of go through there and really, really expand your energy levels for better or worse, depending on what else was going on in your chart. So you're definitely, alert now. Like, not gonna lie, but with this new moon, it's not exactly impacting you in a like just based off your like impacting your sun. It's not impacting your sun in a particular way. It's actually not making any aspect whatsoever because it's in Gemini. However, right now, if you probably noticed that when Mercury slid through Taurus, that you probably noticed that you might have either been under or overstimulated a lot in the last month or so. So it really just depends on kind of what else you have going on in your chart, but just on a very general level, that's kind of what that tells me. I would say you would be more so impacted by Mercury in this last month than you probably would have been by solar or lunar transit. However, if you were born early, yeah, that would have been early degree Scorpio. I would say actually there was a new moon at about 8 degrees of Taurus that happened about about 28 days ago. That really would have lit your sun up. You probably would have noticed. You might have decided that made a big decision that day, or you might have noticed that you either got a big rush of energy to do something. So
That's always cool.
yeah,
I like those rushes of energy to get stuff done. I definitely had that over the weekend. I definitely got a lot done that I needed to get done.
yeah. I would say like okay. So for me, I always tend to have a lot of energy because I have an Aries rising with Mars in my first house with my sun and moon in Sag. So caffeine actually makes me tired. Um, yeah, I don't need any sort of anything to keep me stimulated. I just kind of find it for myself. However, there's a blessing and a curse with that. In order for me to not be dysfunctional, I have to be very careful with where I put my energy into. Because if I'm just like, hey, that sounds cool, let me do it, it doesn't get done right. And I'll notice that there's a lot of mistakes, or I have to go back and re-edit. And the reason why is because I have all this potential energy that is not getting out in a functional way. So what I have to do is actually sit down and use my Scorpio Mercury to sit and edit and think about okay, so if I'm going to do that, I need to plot out at least kind of a plan in order for me to get that done. So that way I'm checking out all the boxes and not just checking the boxes that I feel like doing in the moment.
The
So
one that's
that's,
easiest to do.
yeah, it's not easy because my Sagittarius nature and my Aries rising is just like, let's just get it done. And then my Scorpio Mercury is like, wait a second. Wait a damn minute.
Hold it down. What are we doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Like we got to figure out what are we doing first. We don't just want to go jump into the lake and swallow a snake just because it sounds cool. We want to make sure that what we're doing is all right. So, not gonna lie, but whenever time and every single time I use my Mercury, things get done right. Things get done right when I sit and think about what I want to do and I don't just jump straight into it.
Yeah. Nope, I can understand. I've got a 12th house Mercury in Libra, and I've got my Mars in Scorpio in my first house. So I always have to know, just because I get all these magnificent ideas and things that we can do and how we can get them done and whatnot, that Scorpio and Mars says, now we need to sit down and plot that. Take your time.
Okay, this is very, very, very random. But when I'm looking at your chart right now, because I have it pulled up, just because while we're talking, I'm just making little mental notes. Were you born with a big head?
Probably. Yeah, I was. I was a really ugly ass baby.
I don't believe that. I
I
think
was,
we
man, I was gnarly looking. Like, I look at my photos and I'm like, I was a gnarly looking fucking baby. I had this like big head and these eyes, and I was just very like, I was very discombobulated for a while. I had to grow into what I am. Like, yeah.
well, I can kind of see that with you because you have Mars and Uranus conjunction in the first house. So I can see that like maybe you might think you're that way. But I think every baby owns their cuteness in their own way because babies are just cute in general.
I was cute. As I got older, I went through these weird phases, and then I went through this like really ugly duckling, and then I had to kind of bloom.
Yeah.
Like it went really weird, and that was all. You guys, when you get to know your chart, you get to see how your evolution
Yeah, because we
of
can
your
progress it. We can progress your chart. Yeah.
yeah, of how your look is. And with me having my, my Mars conjuncting my Uranus, it is about like when I grow, it's like, oh, that's a cool new look. That's a cool new look. Look at what
Speaking
she.
of speaking of kids and cool new looks, you want to see me, y'all want to see me as a kid?
Yes.
Yeah, let me take you on a little field trip. This was me as a kid, and this was taken in 2010, y'all. This picture was taken in 2010. So we're gonna have a little flashback to I guess 15 years ago when I was in pre-K. Not to make y'all feel old, but this was me.
Oh my god, how freaking cute are you? Oh my
This is
god.
this is your
Look
little
at
Aries
the
rising.
hair. Look at him.
Yes.
He's looking at the person like, you're not getting my good side here.
No, when I tell you, I hated pictures growing up. This picture was me being like, "You really taking a picture of me? Really? That's what you want to do? That's what you want to do?" Because I hated my hair because that was the only haircut that my grandmother knew how to cut, and my biological father was just like he didn't want to spend money on anything but beer, and so that was kind of what I had to deal with, and so that was what I was. But then again, I grew into myself kind of towards middle and high school, and um, but yeah, this picture right here, this picture was me being like, really, you want to take a picture of me? That's what you want to do? Seriously? Why am I doing this?
Such a
I'm
kitty
only doing.
cutie.
I don't remember taking that specific picture, but I do know that this was my school picture because we had this little thing called Kids with Character. And what it was each month, two students in each class got highlighted for good behavior. and that was and I was one of the first. I was the first um, of that year to be, or that school year to be nominated for kids with character, and that was what it was. And specifically, I guess it was respect because, and I always got nominated for respect for some reason, and I was like, seriously, y'all. Why am I always respect? I want to be citizenship because that has more letters in it. And if it has more letters, it means it's more important. That was me growing up. That was me growing up. That was quite literally
That's
me
the
growing up.
Sagittarius. No, that sounds bigger and better.
Yeah. No, here's the thing. You want to know what I used to do when I was little? I used to come home in tears, and I'm telling you, I was distraught because all of my friends had more letters in their name than I did, and I thought that that meant that they were more important.
No, it just means that they had more letters to be able to learn and spell. And
That's
it meant
what
that they might have
that's
a
what I
hard
was always
time with
told.
government fill out forms in the future.
See, that's what I was always told. But when I tell you, I didn't care because I already knew how to spell. I was like, spelling's not hard at all. They can deal with it. No, I want more letters. And so it got so bad when I tell you, it was so severe that we had to name my sister, my little sister, who was born when I was 5. We had to name her with the same letters, like with like the same number of letters, because I would have quite literally thrown a fit. I'm telling you, I was wild as a kid. And I was only this years old. I was only this years old. Because this was 2010. This was 2010. I was in pre K. And my sister was born in 11. So, yeah.
Wow. And what's your sister's name?
Mia, MIA. Missing in action always because she is a Pisces with a Scorpio rising. She stays in her room. So
Oh,
she's
she
aptly
hides
named.
really good, huh?
No, but she's great. Yeah.
Wow. She's secret keeper.
Very much so. However, here's a fun fact. You can usually tell when you throw a chart up to an astrologer or when astrologer sees
You
family
cast the
charts.
chart.
You cast a chart. Or well, I mainly say throwing because sometimes people just throw their charts at you quite literally, and you're like, "Oh, that was aggressive. You want me to read it?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, no, you can pay for a reading." Unless you're friends and family, and then I usually do. I usually just do those for free,
Right.
just because friends and family, of course. But whenever I would be looking at family charts of people, particularly my family, because those are the ones I look at the most, obviously. It's so funny because you can see the trends of the family trauma that has been gone through. You can see the family stories that have been passed down. You can see the family heirlooms that have been thrown in. All of that is evident in a chart. Every single bit. And here's the thing. My stepdad, myself, and my sister all have Sagittarius moons conjunct each other, all within 8 degrees of each other. So you can tell that we were naturally more closer with each other because we had more that we identified with each other with than maybe my mom, my biological mom, who had a Taurus moon.
Wow.
So you can kind of see there's that little bit of a little tension there. And then also, my sister and I both have 22-degree Capricorn Venuses, even though she was born in February and I was born in December, because
Wow.
Venus had retrograded at some point. So there's that as well. So she and I both have 22-degree Capricorn Venuses. However, mine is in the 10th house, hers is in the 4th house. So for her, that's going to naturally make her more of a homebody. For me, that's going to naturally make me want to do stuff like this a lot more.
I do. I was gonna say that makes perfect sense, you know? And maybe out there, um tell everybody about times on birth certificates because you can call the hospital even if you were adopted, even if there's some situation, if you know the hospital that you were born at, there's more than likely that they have the time depending on the state.
Yes. So some states in certain years didn't record for various reasons. Some states, even to this day, round to the nearest hour or half an hour. So it's really interesting too because I don't offer rectification services, but I have rectified people's charts before and I have gotten within 30 minutes. Now, I'll probably eventually, as I get have more experience and things, because I've only been doing this for a couple of years, I'll probably get down to 10 or 5 minutes. But right now, the furthest away I've ever gotten on a true like actually rectification session was 30 minutes away. And so it's still better than nothing, and it's still better. It's significant. It actually, as long as we really have the correct rising sign, we can really just fill in the blanks from there. And so yeah, it's really cool. Working backwards, that's kind of how whenever I was actually arguing with someone in Lori Rivers' comment section today, and Lori was like, "Oh my god, what are you doing, Eli? What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just having a moment. There's this person who's saying I can't prove astrology, and I just did, and they don't want to listen to me." Because they were trying to be like, oh, well, if you are, you can't prove it, it's not a science. I'm like, yeah, you're right, it isn't a science. It's a field of study, though. It's not a science, but it is a field of study. Just like art, art is just as much a field of study. That is not a science, but people still legitimize that too. And then they were like, well, I don't know about that. But if you know it's fake because Neil deGrasse Tyson says, I'm like, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson says a lot of things, but he's an astronomer. Astronomy and astrology are two different things. Astronomy is a science, astrology is not. Astrology is more of an art and a humanity and a social science, and then astronomy is more so the physical, natural science. So think about it that way. And then they're like, they just and here's the thing about Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's a great astronomer, but he is one of the biggest assholes that I have ever seen. And that goes for a lot of that. It's okay. Some people can be very good at what they do and still be very and have no charisma whatsoever. So it's okay. That's a thing that happens. It's just like how you can listen to music from someone who may have very different values than you, but you can still respect that their music is good. You know what I'm saying? It's the same kind of thought process there, but this guy didn't want to hear it. And so yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. People like to say he has Riz, but really he's just trying to be he's really showing his insecurity. And I really want to wait. Do we have a birth chart for Neil deGrasse Tyson? Perhaps. Let
We
me see if I
might.
can.
I mean, we might, but but yeah, you can get a good astrologer to get a rectified chart, and they can kind of work it backwards because my younger sister anyway, her dad doesn't remember the exact time. My mom's obviously passed away, so we don't really know, and she was forwardly adopted by her stepmom or mom now, and I guess the birth certificates had to be changed, and she doesn't have a time of birth.
Well, as long as we have a birthday, or at least for me, like I can't speak for other astrologers because every astrologer does rectifications differently. Um, One of the things is like when you start having mentors for astrology, like you actually are like, hey, I'm committed to this pathway. I have a one-on-one mentorship with someone who's actually teaching me the skills and things to do. Um, you get to start learning the deep secrets that other professional astrologers and how they do things because they're like because then they when you have a mentorship you get to hear things like that because they've chances are they've worked with other astrologers before. And so I have kind of figured out I was like, oh, that astrologer doesn't actually know what they're doing. Interesting. Oh, that astrologer does it that way. That's actually
I
very fascinating. I
love
want to study that a
it.
little bit
I
more.
love it.
And then there's and so I've tested different methods that different astrologers have kind of used. You won't be able to find it on the internet. I'm just gonna be so honest right now. You can't find any of this on the internet because this is just kind of things that just spread through word of mouth as well as through professional networks. And so I played around with a couple of rectification methods, and I'm going to tell you, I think I found one that's fairly good. But I really try to avoid just using one method, and I usually play along with a whole bunch of different ones, and then I see where they line up, where they don't. It's like being a meteorologist. You're looking at all kinds of different maps and different sources of information, and then you're coming to your own individual conclusions based off your experience and based off the other professionals' experiences as well. Because we all help each other out, but at the end of the day, we're all making our own original stuff and our own original thoughts and our own original interpretations.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Well, I'm gonna pop off here in a few minutes. It's time for me to start my beauty routine at night and go to be able to get some sleep. And my voice
Yeah,
got kind of shot from just blissfully talking a whole lot about
yeah.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
If you guys like this live, let us know. We'll go live again. We'll figure out some more things to be able to talk about.
And go sign up for beginning astrology. I'm teaching that tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Time. Go to starseekastrology.com and register and use the code SAVE20 to save
Yep.
20%. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And you guys know how to get a hold of me. Click the link in the thing and join our Patreons, do all the things cuz that's where you get the offline talk at.
Yeah. Yeah, we get
That's
a
where
lot
you
of
get the oh wow, that's where you get all the juicy free, all the juicy stuff that comes with being a part of one of our or both of our Patreons on here. But happy everybody, have a happy new moon, okay? Have great days. Take your wins, okay? They're your wins. Take them. You've earned them. Yeah, I will. I'm going to enjoy this nice rain that's coming through. And you guys stay, have fun out there. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Fun is a form of resistance, and I need you to remember that. You guys are kick ass, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Eli.
yeah, this was fun. I'll see y'all later.
All right.
Have a great night, y'all.